What's good? What's good?
Brewe's Brewin. What up, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. I was trying to see if I could do it with the laptop, but it's cool.
No, you can't. You can only with the phone.
Yo, they ain't right.
As far as doing the dual thing, it's only with the phone. So this is my shit right here. This made me want to jump out and go crazy. This one right here. Thank you very much. This is episode 48, Carrying the Culture Show. Breeze Brewin, JuggaKnots, Bronx, New York. Thank you, man. We appreciate you for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all, man. I be checking y'all out, man. It's really that. It's really carrying the culture.
Oh, man.
Kicking that real shit, and y'all be having real cats. So, you know what I mean? You see me pop up on
of course. Yeah. No, I appreciate you, showing some love, support, and stuff. I mean, yeah, that's what we're about. That's why you're here. So
yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we've had a lot of your contemporaries and things like that on the show. Big up, Mr. Lynn. You know what I'm saying? So we've had a lot of people on the show that. So yeah, you're far right in line there. So thank you.
Yeah, man, no doubt.
So a couple ground rules before we get started, everybody. If you have questions for Breeze, please use the questions feature below. There's a questions mark right there. We can pull it up and show it. Second thing is, just like on the page, if you act all crazy, get me fuck shit, I will send your ass home quick, because it's just it's a nuisance to try to navigate the the live shit as well as conduct a discussion. So that is what it is. Yeah, man. So I got a lot to get into. We got an hour. The Instagram cuts me off right in an hour, but yo, quick thing. I always wondered, where did the name come from?
Real talk. It was comics. It was the comic books.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was just being an X-Men fan, and we had like wild names before that, and ain't nothing really stick. And then it was just like, you know what? I just looked up the definition for Juggernaut, and just but then to see the joint, I mean, like the actual dictionary definition. And that joint means, to I guess to not stop. So that's how I want to be. I want to not stop with this music shit, and I kind of still want to not stop. So it fit.
Well, I mean, as far as Breeze Brewin, we're having some difficulties. Just my luck.
Now I'm back. Am I back?
Oh, you good? Yeah, you're back now.
I can't see me, but it don't matter. I don't need to see me. Yeah, Breeze Brewin. That came from when I was playing ball. There was a dude on my block, my man Chris Bascombe, but we call him Chris Kringle, and he like schooled all of us. Like, he was the cat who could play ball. He pulled girls. He did things. Yeah, I mean, in our neighborhood. And he just like, he would actually get dudes to come, because I had a little court in the backyard. So he would find dudes, and he would hustle them. He'd be like, yo, you gonna play my man? And I was like 11. So then he was like, all you gotta do is give me the ball. I was like, all right. So he would bring a couple of burgers. We play ball, we win. And he just said, yo, run around. And, if you open, take your shot. So I would. You know what I mean? And he was like, yo, man, I think I'm going to call you Breeze, man, because you don't ask no questions. You just do what you got to do. You kind of like the cartoon Breezy Brewin, you know what I mean? Where, he be helping his pops out. His pop getting all kind of mischief. And then, it's his son on the low just kind of handling business.
Got you.
So I said, all right. And that's what it was. So shout out to my man, Chris Kringle, from 241st. And,
word. Yo, can you still not see yourself?
I can't see myself. I don't. It don't matter that I can, as long as y'all.
I just do me a favor, because the thing is, when we record it, it might. I can see you, but it might not record it that way. And then when we go,
should I leave and come right back?
Yeah, try it for a sec. Try it if you don't mind.
I'm gonna do that.
All right.
Be right back, y'all.
Bet. I just want to make sure. What up, everybody? Breeze Brewin. New joint. Relatively recent. This one's dope.
Right here. It's called King Oxymoron. Like oxymoron. But
all like, bring it, y'all, get it on. Talking ambiguity, nothing your mans can do for me. When anything but a match, come attached to literally make no link, but still to really make you all think and ask for pronunciating. Something I wanna state it was necessary to change it. The regular being strange with the oxy, I see it simple. Got nothing to do with pimples. If you declare me more wrong, better be there with sword drawn. So I'll be mixing by slipping that prefix with the emphasis, put the ox out. Be ready to rock.
I think we good. We good.
All right.
I'm seeing wild people too. That some family that's up in the joint.
Oh, nice.
I see one of my students. What's good, Jabriel?
We're gonna talk about that too as well.
Word up.
Yeah,
that's my man's right there.
Nice. So yeah, I mean, let's jump around the place, man, because you said X-Men. X-Men is that's like a buzzword for me. Who's your favorite and why?
I mean, honestly, I think the dude I used to try to draw the most was probably Nightcrawler. I thought Nightcrawler was real dope. I love the plume. I loved how you could like draw in like parts of him, like you could phase in different parts.
Right.
So I thought that was next level. I mean, at some point, everybody who's like a comic book head and is a fake artist and copies, everybody's gonna do their Wolverines and their Colossuses, but there's a lot of notebooks that have a Nightcrawler popping on the side of the page when I was a kid. So that was probably my favorite. And I just,
all right.
He had the weird ass fingers. You know what I mean? I'm sure the ladies loved him.
He could do a lot of things. No, I mean,
yeah.
So as far as are you feeling what they've done with the movies? Excuse me.
You know, I saw a lot of them early on. Of late, I ain't even gonna front. I fell off for the Marvel Universe joint. I'm not even sure why. Maybe as a teacher, there was just so many spoilers. If I ain't see it the first weekend, by Monday, like I saw it. You know what I mean? They was talking about, I was like, yo, for real? You know you ruining this for me, right? And I think it just literally just was like, if I can't get in the first weekend, I'm not going to see it. Because like, it just came out. It was like in 5 minutes, you know, class start, yo! And what if I was like, cover my shit? But kids don't care.
That's funny. That's funny. Yo, so you got a real unique flow. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that sounds like you. I know, like, when I hear your voice, I'm like, oh, okay, Breeze. Like, it's automatic style. The voice itself, and I think that's dope because there's nobody that sounds like you. I mean, from like how you know what I'm saying, words and everything. I mean, I think it's so influence-wise, like, what was, you know, like, where, because it doesn't sound like anybody that I've heard, really.
I definitely grew up like gravitating to dudes who not only kicked around but kind of ended up with like a vocal performance. So when I think of dudes, I think of like Chris. I think about Guru. I think about Rick. And Rick is pretty close to my heart because he grew up in our neighborhood in the Northeast Bronx. So we'd see him, and so while he became a legend to everybody, he was a legend to us. But like, he went to the junior high school. My man used to you know, like, bang on the table for him. Shout out to my dude Eddie. And so it was like Rick was huge. Like, we all had the tape before Def Jam. The vinyl and that project came out. Like, we had a tape that Rick would circulate around the neighborhood.
Oh, word?
Yeah. So it was like, it was him and Vance. It was him and Vance, right? So it was like, some of the joints have been heard. Some joints I don't think they've ever been heard. So I remember the dopest one was the Indian Girl joint. So that shit was hard. And I could say ha 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 ha. Like, it was so dope. Like, the joint of the album was cool, but if y'all know the chat, if y'all had got your hands on that tape that was circulating in the Bronx and Mount Vernon, it was like, it blew your mind. So you knew he was going to win, and it was him and Vance. So Rick was a huge inspiration because we'd see him. And then, you know, I like dudes with like distinct voices, you know, like a Rick, you know what I mean, like a Chris. Special Ed, to me, I thought his voice was extremely interesting. Q-Tip, you know, like them type of brothers. I didn't have the most like projecting like loud voice. I found when I tried to be loud, it would distort. So I was like, I gotta find like I gotta hone in on it. And I kind of peeped that early because it was like when I was like 12 rhyming, I would try to like get louder, my voice would crack. It would get weaker. So I said, yo, let me just find a sweet spot. So from early on, it was like unmistakably like me, because I'm just not gonna be yelling at dudes. As I got older and stronger with my voice, it got louder and more like compressed naturally. So it just kind of like became like its own thing. And I think it's even still developing as I've gotten older. Like it's gotten a bit more harsh, just getting older. But voices are dope. Like you know what I mean? It's like I try to I hear vocal performances. You know what I mean? Not just a verse. Some cats spit verses and that's lovely. But then other cats, it's like a performance. And I try to like adhere to that.
So what if an artist doesn't, because sometimes I feel like an artist can get away with some average to decent bars because their voice and delivery and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, are they really saying, wait, hold on. And then, so that's one thing, but do you feel
you
like...
you want a name that I could agree with you on that?
You toss somebody out. You toss somebody.
Ross. I think Ross. Yeah, I mean, like when I heard him, I was like, yo, he got an ill voice. But I don't know if there's any particular bars consistently. He's had a bar where I'm like, oh, that's cool, you know? You know, the joint when he said putting in the seatbelt felt like intercourse. I was like, oh, okay, that's what it is.
I mean, we've all had bars. I've had a bar in the shower or two, too. I think everybody on here has had a bar. My girls had a bar. I mean, like...
But I'm just saying, gun to my head, I can't give you 10.
Yeah,
Rick Ross joints.
So do you think then that perhaps like sometimes cats can get away with it, or people might be knocked down a notch because they might spit crazy, but their voice is just kind of...
I think it's a combo. I think there are dudes that spit like some real shit, but their voice is just not to my liking. But to me, I'm content first, so I could look past that. You know what I mean, if there's like a voice and I'm like, all right, you know, I mean, there's certain voices that I don't think Eminem has like a real MC like type voice, but content wise, like the balls are there.
Right.
So you know what I mean? It's like it's content first to me, but you get driven by the tone. Like the tone, like the voice is an instrument, and it's like there's a difference between, you know, a little, you know, a Casio keyboard and a Fender Rhodes. You know what I mean? Like the melody could be dope on either one, but I'm trying to hit a Fender Rhodes all day.
Right, of course. Yeah, there was some. I saw one interview where you actually talked about some of your influences, and I wanted to see if you bring them up here. Two lesser-known cats and the reason why I wanted to touch on them is because I've interviewed like 3 people in the past few months that have all brought these cats up, and I've always held them in high regard too. So it's like, oh, okay, like it felt good hearing you say them. I was curious. I was wondering if you were gonna bring them up, but
I mean, I'm never gonna shy away from what got me here, like this culture and this art form.
So it was Chill Rob G,
yes,
and Lakim Shabazz.
Oh my God, yeah, those dudes early on,
heavy hitters.
The
real power joint. You know what I'm saying? Fucking with Chill Rob G, and the core is in session. Cats sleep on Rob. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they definitely do. And I mean, I'm not sure who was doing his production. Do you remember?
I'm not sure.
That shit was hard.
Right.
Quarters in session? Come on now.
That shit was it was dope. Yeah. And that was back though. That was kind of back when we almost didn't really think about production that much. Like I mean, as fans anyway, we weren't as concerned. I mean, I came later. For us as fans, I feel like that kind of came later. Like when we were talking about who produced it. We just cared about the track. We moving and stuff. So it's funny. There's a lot of tracks from back in the day. I'm like, yo, I wonder who even did that shit. You know what I mean?
I mean, Paul C. You know, if our mindset was more on that, cats would have really been on Paul C. or Crazy. But it was just like, oh, that's just Duda James. It's just hard as shit. We just love Duda James. I mean, that's another dude. Super Lover C. Casanova Rudd. I huge influence. His flow was just like so ahead of its time. You talk about interesting voice.
Ridiculous.
That's another dude. If we're gonna talk about like the you know what I mean, the dude that he should be mentioned more.
Ridiculous. I mean, like I posted a freestyle. I mean, he did like a radio spot a few years ago, and it was like Super Lover C, and I was just like, I mean, he could have just kept going for days. It was crazy. So yeah, big up to him. So let's get into the earlier shit. I mean, you've told the story. I want to go a little deeper into it though. I mean, as far as Pete Nice being your basketball coach, right? That's kind of bugged me. The first time I heard it, and that was kind of like your intro to this shit. But this was pre-third base, right?
Yeah. This was he actually had just finished playing college basketball. He played at Columbia. And in high school, he played at Bishop Ford High School. His father was a coach. His father was Ray Nash. His father's Ray Nash, who was the coach for the New York City version of the Empire State team. So I don't know if, with ball, the Empire State team was like on another level. So they would have dudes. There was like a New York City team. And then they would play a Westchester County team, and then there was like a Hudson Valley team, and a Long Island team, and they would just try to beat the brains out of each other. But it was all the top ball players, and I think there was even a farther upstate team. And I don't know how many of them dudes were D1 pros and all that, but like that was like another level of New York basketball. And his pops was a coach. His brother Brian Nash also. I played against Brian at the camp, and he was my coach, and it was crazy. It was crazy because, like I said, we had the Rick tapes. So I think we was in the camp in like 80, 85 or 86. I was dumb young. I was I think 11 or 12, but I knew all the Rick songs. So we would chill. It was like at Manhattan College, and they had dorms. So we chilled in the dorms in Manhattan College, and we played ball all hours. You can go play ball 3 o'clock in the morning. It was dope. So we didn't do that, and we would just sometimes rhyme. We would freestyle. By then I was rhyming, but a lot of my rhymes I stole from Rick. So I was doing like me and my brother. Shout out to Kev Fever. We would perform these Rick joints because we was like, don't nobody know them. So we rocking them. So everybody's like, yo, you got to hear these kids. They got this song about, Super Spaghetti, this Indian girl joint. And then I was like, I ain't spitting that shit for Pete. Because he already told me, like, he was like, yo, I actually rhyme. I'm about to get this deal with Def Jam. I was like, I think Rick got a deal with Def Jam. We ain't saying that shit.
That's where I thought this was going.
So he would freestyle like after the game. He would rhyme. I could spit rhymes for him. He was
he wasn't walking around with the cane. All I can think of Pete Nice was with the cane in the middle of the street on the throne in Brooklyn Queens video. Like I mean, I can't even. I mean, I knew he was really into baseball and sports, but
the Pit Minister shit was real though. It was so real because he was doing his thing. He was coaching. He was trying to be official because his pops ran the basketball camp. And but we would go to the lunch joint, and there was always like 2 or 3 bad Dominican girls working in the cafeteria, and everybody's trying to holler at these bad, and they always coming over. Yo, what's up? How you doing? Hot Pete just like, hey, what's up? he had the pimp minister was in full effect even then. I mean, he's a tall dude. You know, he's a cool cat. He's like 6'4". So I mean, I guess whatever. We was trying to holler, although my brother did bag one of them. I just want to shout out that. Cat Fever did bag one of them bad Dominican guys. I mean, we from the Bronx. Everybody else was like from Queens and Long Island. We're like, nah.
Yeah. So I mean, so you're spitting for him and shit like that, and so then he kind of.
Yeah, we kept in touch. Like after the joint. I mean, when he had first started Hoppo, even before that, sometimes he would be at where Rocksteady ended up, 97. We would head down there, chill with him. It was Pete, and then there was this other cat, Mark. And Mark was in the Step Into the AM video. They were like competitive. Like we beat Mark's team for the championship, and Pete was like, "Yo, go tell Mark to come through and come eat with us. Stop being a little hoe." And I went over. I was like, "Yo, Mark, man, come through." And then he ended up. I don't know if he ended up like doing like some type of industry gig, but he definitely was in the Step Into the AM video, and it was dope. Like when the joint came out, and I saw the credits, and it said "Peace to PS Breeze," because I was always Breeze, and with the PS in front, that's my initials, and Kev, and it's right there in the credits for the Cactus.
Oh, that's dope.
And it blew my, as being a shorty, it blew my mind, It definitely did, So it was I mean, I was already in the hip hop. It was in my blood. It was on the block. It was there, but that side of it, I owe a lot of that to Pete. And there was a show. They did a show in I was living in Red Hook, Brooklyn, and they did a joint, I think, like kind of near Gowanus. It was a pretty big show. It was like a third base show, reunion almost joint. So I went over, and everybody was flocked around him, and I just said, "Yo, Pete, what's good, man? Just want to thank you. You know what I mean? I don't know if you remember me." And then he looked. He was like, "Please." I gave him a pound. I got up out of there. I think I'd work the next day, but cool brother. You know what I mean? I remember he would invite us to shows. They did a show in Westchester one time. It was like them and Nice and Smooth. I think I was like, at the time I was like 14. My brother was 16. He let us get on stage, Capitol Theater, Port Chester, New York. He gave us a taste of that good life. You know what I mean? And that Step Into the AM video was real. And I actually handed out flyers for he had this, I don't know if you know about the show he had with Clark Kent.
Columbia? What? No.
Yeah, it was at Columbia. It was before Stretch and Bob show. Before it was called the We Could Do This show. And at the end of camp one year, he was like, "Yo, take these flyers," and I walked them all up and down White Plains Road. I walked them into Mount Vernon and just put them on people's cars underneath their joint. We Can Do This 89.9. I remember there was I heard a joint. There was a freestyle session with him and Kane. So it was just Pete and Kane going back and forth.
Word?
For like 10 minutes. I mean, there's a tape of that somewhere.
I was gonna say, yo, I had to pause for a minute. I'd love to hear that shit. I mean, fucking Rushtown 298, where you at, man? Like, it's good.
I'm seeing a lot of love in the chat. Thank y'all, man. I'm seeing love to I'm Gonna Kill You. That's favorite song.
Yo, real quick, didn't I heard that because we had Drez from Black Sheep on the show recently. Hey, he's a good brother. Didn't he crash your studio session or something?
Definitely did. Drez definitely crashed our session at Calliope. Shout out to Lyle Lee. Lyle Lee was his main engineer, and Calliope was kind of like, I guess Calliope was. It was like a mix between D&D and Chungking before those blew up. So that's where De La was working, Tribe. And back in the days, you look on the back of the records and see what Cats was recording at. So then Calliope came. They had I think they had a spot one place, and then they had another spot, or maybe Chungking had a smaller spot. Either way, we went to Calliope. It was like on 37th. And it was dope. So you go upstairs, and it was a penthouse, and they had skylight looking out, and then you'd have to walk up like a little, like maybe 4 or 5 steps, and then they had a booth that looked down on the entire studio, like the control room. And one day we was in there, I think it was the second time we had a session, and we just trying to do our thing, and in comes Drez. So we like setting up and doing whatever. My man just starts playing the piano. So I'm like, yo, it's Drez. That's what's up. So my brother's like, yo, man, it's just like $50 an hour. he was like, we get charged for this? Like, he goes over to the engineer, and then he's like, no, you know, I'll talk to him. Drez is just working out some. He's like, all right, because it's like $50 an hour. I mean, this is like 1991.
Yeah, I was just about to say, that's a lot.
That's a lot of money, man. So he hung out for a little bit, and then we was like, yo, you know, appreciate you. And then he bounced. But my man definitely walked into the next man's session and started just putting down some melodious chords. So shout out to Drez, man.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah, he's a good dude. So the album gets, well, you guys get bounced from Elektra. You go to follow him, right? How did that Bobito shit come about?
We almost signed with Bob. We were very close to signing with Bob and Pete because they had Hoppo. And we were definitely, I mean, it was Pete. You know what I mean? Like, we wanted to rock with him. And this was around the time that he was working on the solo album. They had played us the solo album. Remember hearing the Cage verse, like, wow. And we were very close to, it was either them and my brother was like kind of doing his thing with the R&B. He had produced for Terry and Monica. There was this other girl, Billy Lawrence, he was producing for. And, you know, a lot of whatever moves we were making, that was through my brother. And then we was on the Jason's Lyrics soundtrack. So then after that, people were like, yo, this is pretty dope. You know, it's two brothers. They ain't even know about my sister. And they were like, let's get him a production deal, you know? So then we did a couple of joints. They heard them and they were like, yo, we want to give you a deal. So at the same time, we always going back, building, going down. That's when Pete had the office, the Hopper office on 7th Ave, right there in the Village by Houston. So that, you know, we would go down there. That's the first time I met Bob. And we were really close. But, you know, we were just like, we loved what they were doing. Big fans of Curious. They had Hard to Obtain, which we thought were dope. Cats from LI.
Yeah,
dope album. Dope
LI Groove, of course.
LI Groove, that was the joint. So then we, you know, it just got down to the point where we're like, all right, we could go with them brothers, but, you know, Elektra East West, it had all our heroes. Like just to put it plainly, like, you know, they had
Das Effects was on them, right?
Das Effects. They had Pete and CL. They had Brad Nubian. They had KMD. And these were people who were still on the roster at the time. Dante was still the A&R. And literally, it seemed like, all right, we're going to make this decision. We can go there. And Pete and them were like, yo, I get it. You got my blessing. Good luck. You know what I mean? And it seemed like, you know, things were going good. And then they switched up. They just kind of switched up, like, their vision as far as Elektra East West. And I don't know. We didn't adjust. To put it, we did not adjust. You know what I mean? And we liked what we were doing. There was some crazy requests. You know, certain. You know. The closest we got to pleasing them was maybe sex type thing. You know what I mean? They were like, this is kind of, or to put a hook. They were like, you need to put a singing hook to Clear Blue Skies. And we were like, sounds great, but back to Calliope. So Calliope, when we had did Clear Blue Skies and then we never even finished the mix, although that's the mix that everybody heard. So long story short, there was a dude in Calliope who, if you did not pay all your money at that time, so let's say you owed them, your session was $300 and you gave them $200. He's like, all right, cool. Just pay, you know, before you come back, you know, get started. You got to, you know, we got to level up. You're like, all right, cool, we'll do that. And that would happen. You know, you would have like a 6-hour session that would go 8 hours. That shit would happen to everybody. So we went back, had our money, was ready to level up, and we were like, yo, what's up with Calliope? They were like, yo, it's closed. So we're like, what happened? They were like, yo, this dude's want to kill the dude, the manager. So what he was doing, if you didn't pay up, it was all cool, but you had to leave your masters. What this motherfucker was doing was recycling masters. So he recycled. Clear Blue Skies got recycled. I believe, you got to ask Evil D, I believe some Black Moon shit got recycled.
Wow.
A bunch of motherfucker shit got recycled. Obviously, that did not bode well for the said record manager. He moved to Cali. They closed Calliope. That was the end of Calliope. So we couldn't add vocals to Clear Blue Skies unless it would have been like some 2-track shit. It wasn't time for that yet. Cats, you know, the technology wasn't there yet.
Right.
We didn't even have an instrumental. We had to redo the whole beat just to make it instrumental. I know, right?
Yo.
So, you know, that was industry rule 4,080.
Yeah, ups and downs.
That was our introduction, but and there was some frustration there because, like, the label, there were people there who believed in us. You know what I mean? Kim Spikes, she was our new A&R after Dante had left, and she was dope. You know, shout out to I'm trying to think who else. There was a lot of people there. Jocelyn, who ended up starting Afropunk. She was a big supporter. They wanted some next shit. There were people who wanted some next shit, and then there were people who were like, yo, I need that hit. I need that hit. I need that hit. Where's that hit at?
Right.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't just us. You know what I mean? They were pushing cats to just, you know, get that radio joint popping. Adolf, you know what I mean? You know, once he had Ghetto Girl, they wanted everything to be Ghetto Girl. And obviously, you know, he's got a lot more to offer than that. So they dropped us. You know, there was some really awkward, I guess, label meetings where we were playing joints. And I remember one joint where they were like, what you want to play today? We played them Job Talk. And I'm just proud of that shit. And I think people walked out. I think people walked out while that joint was. And I think after that, they were like, yo, we don't know what to do with you.
Wow.
And we were like, all right, then I guess just we go. Just, you know, let us have our music. And they, you know, they let us keep the DATs. We don't have the masters, but we had the DATs. And that's what we took to Bob. And Bob was like, all right, you know, I would love to put it out. And he put out some of them. And then eventually we put out everything later with the re-release. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. All right. Thanks for clearing that up. So let's fast forward to Prince Among Thieves, because that's how I heard about you. I heard about you in reverse. I heard Prince Among Thieves. I had this roommate who used to buy like every fucking joint that came out, no matter what it was. He was like my guinea pig. This shit, whack, trash, whatever. If it was new, he bought it. So sometimes it was hit or miss. But I was just like, all right. So he came home one day. He was like, yo. He's like, you gotta hear this Prince Among Thieves. Like, I was like, what? Like, and he's like, Prince Paul. And I fuck with Prince Paul heavy. So I heard that, and then I went back. But I want to really dig into Prince Among Thieves shit, man, because that, to me, there's bits and pieces that I can relate to, but also, like, I was, like, right there in the car with y'all all the time. I mean, that's how real it felt. It was like, what up, True? Like, I mean, I feel like, so, like, it's weird. Like, even doing this interview, I'm like, I know that nigga already, yo. Like, I mean, that's true. Like, that ain't Breeze. Like, you know what I mean? So,
hey,
in my brain.
Sometimes I'm True. Sometimes Tariq, and then sometimes I'm Breeze. That's how it works. Right?
You know, so yeah, it was a brilliant album, and I want to know, like, how did did Paul have his shit laid out, or did you?
He had the whole album done.
Okay, he just came and grabbed you. How did he pick you? I mean, like
it was Electra. So they asked us basically, like, you know, as they were trying to salvage even us being there and make everybody happy, they were like, well, who would y'all want to work with outside production wise, either for remixes or additional songs? And Paul was one of them. You know, we said Paul, Pete, Large, Primo, and Diamond D. So what they said is they were going to send them a representation of our music. And at this point, joints wasn't even, you know, there were joints like in the process of being mixed. And they sent them, they said they sent them to everybody. I wouldn't know. We got dropped. So we get dropped and whatever. And I'm just doing what I need to do. And I'm, you know, I got a kid and I'm just handling business. I'm working at a group home in above Yonkers in Dobbs Ferry, Children's Village. And I get home, I get a message about Prince Paul call. Now, mind you, I work nights. You know what I mean? So I'm like, yeah, whatever, and I fall asleep. So I wake up, and then it's like, here's his number. So I was like, you serious? So I go and I call, and it's Paul. And we building, and apparently he got our number. My sister in the building, Queen Heroin in the building.
No doubt. Yo, she will cut your head off, man, for real.
So well. And you know what I mean? And he reached out, so he got the tape from True to the Word. That's what I'm saying. Shout out to Kim Spikes. She did send him joints out. You know, he reached out. He wanted to work with us. But then they told him that, yo, we dropped them. So he went to where every, you know, knowledgeable hip hop head went to. He went to Fat Beats. And he asked the Clips, who he thought was Stretch. And then he get, you know, I talked to him, I'm like, yo, who get my number from? He's like, oh, I got your number from Stretch. I was like, Stretch? The fuck you get my number from Stretch? I don't be building with Stretch. And then he was like, you go with Fat Beats. I was like, oh, that's the Clips. So everybody, you know, a lot of people don't confuse them. And then he just said, yo, come through. And I went to his crib. And I think it was kind of like almost like a tryout. And he was like, all right, cool. So here's the scenario and this and that. And what would you write for this? And then I wrote a joint. And he was like, yeah, I'll do. I'm trying to think what was the first joint. Maybe it was What You Got. Maybe it was What You Got.
Okay.
And then after that, he was just like, yo, let's do this. I'm gonna try to get you some bread and change my life, man. I always say it. He changed my life. He you know, I mean, a lot of cats get deals and then, you know, real life starts to happen and, you know, I'm about them kids. So it was like, I really couldn't be playing around. You know what I mean? I think, yeah, this was like my second child was on the way. So then it was just like, I can't play games. Let me just do this work. And then it just, you know, we just started building. I would go to his crib in LI, and this was after psychoanalysis. I see Michelle Williams in the building, the designer for my cover and the psychoanalysis cover. And you know, it just happened. We just started working, and he was just dumb cool, and amazing. Like I mean, you know the album, and it makes sense. Like it sounds real doable today, but like Pro Tools and shit. My man was not. This was pre-Pro Tools.
This was gonna ask you, like, how was that put together? Like, because I'm just thinking, like, the sheer problem of like putting all those cats together. How was that?
The craziest part of it too, it's almost exponential because it's like you're right. There's so many cats, right? So what he would do is he would have 4 ADATs, 4 of them, right? And you know what ADATs are? You in the game, so you know. Everybody else who don't know ADAT, it's basically a VCR that you would record music on, 8 tracks at a time. So, but you had to record on them. it wasn't no digital mixing around. It was just like tape. It was like, you know, basically 8 4-tracks, if you think about it. So he would have you come in there, and doing the songs wasn't the hard part. It was the dialogue. So for every line that I said, that everybody said in the joint, he asked him to say it like 6 or 7 times. And then he pieced it together so that he could start to develop, like, between, like, Kane is talking to, you know, to True. I want to make sure I have the same, you know, the right vibe between them. And how he did that shit to me is, I still don't know. But the amount of work that went into that, I mean, you know, it's the reason why it wasn't done before that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And not for nothing, it ain't really, you know, cats have done, you know, little skits or whatever, but
nothing like this.
Nothing like that. It was on
nothing
a whole
like this.
level.
I mean, he's on another level, and I wanted to really speak on that for a second too. I mean, he's had like 5 distinct careers, really, if you look at like the shit he's been involved in, like the Stetsasonic, the De La, I mean, like Handsome Boy, I mean, so much different, like just Grave Diggers, like different, and everything he touches, like fire.
And again, you think of the one-offs, you know what I mean? When you think about like the Gas Face, I mean, that's the first time we ever heard Doom. That's Paul. That beat was hard. That was the hardest joint on the Cactus. You know what I mean? When that shit was like, oh shit, like that shit was old shit for real. I was like, damn, that shit's gully.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, you know, he changed my life, man. I appreciate the brother so much.
Yeah, no, he does not get his due. When people talk about top producers, he doesn't come up. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Like, he's got 30 plus years. Like,
and you think about the actual contribution. You know what I mean? It's like before Paul, nobody was opening up, you know, the game to sample any different kind of sound or whatever. Like that was really, you know, Paul's, you know, that was, he left his mark with that.
Right.
And I know it was him and De La, but you know what I mean? I'm just saying it was just like, it was a different approach. So when I think about, I don't know how you don't mention him. To me, he's top 5.
No, I got him up there, man. He's one of the best to do it. A couple other things I wanted to get into. Let's get into, how did you say I'm gonna be a teacher?
Real talk? The
real talk.
That joint, the Uninvited you was playing? All right, so
that's a true story, right?
Yeah. So in the song when I'm talking about, yo, I wanna, you know, I'm gonna work with my man. He's in the industry. It really happened like that. Like we went from being like in high school together, looking for colleges together. I remember when we was in Bay Plaza the opening night for New Jack City, getting shot at in the RX-7, pulling out like driving out of the joint like this. When cats is just busting shots. The first night, you know, New Jack City, Bay Plaza had just opened, so we was wilding. Shout out to Northeast Bronx, and we was cool. And it got to the point where I was at Fat Beats and he was at his label. His label will send over some very choice white labels that will move very quickly out of Fat Beats. I was like, all right, the transition will be for me to, let me just, you know, go from Fat Beats and then I'll start working at a label and I'll work my way up and I'll be in the industry in a different form. And I remember us building, we're going to talk about it. And then after that, it just was crickets. So I was like, look, I'm going to call my man one more time. And at this time, I was having like some issues with the mother of my first 2 children. And then it was like, I had to get a job. You know what I mean? Like I had to get a job on like a more official job. I was already working at Fat Beats, but it was like, look, you know, grow up or you're going to be vulnerable if she try to make moves, you know, in the family court system. So I was on the train one day, I seen this joint about teaching. And it was like, all right, cool. You can apply. So I was like, I'm going to apply to this teaching joint. And either my man's going to hit me back or I'm going to get into this teaching joint. And whichever one happens, I'm going to go with that. And the teaching joint, it was kind of like a lottery too, because everybody ain't got it. Because I had no money to go to school. They paid for my education if I got into the teaching fellows. I wrote my application. I wrote my joint. Send it in there. I'm waiting. They hit me back. They're like, yo, you've been selected to the next round of interviews. So the whole time, my man never hit me. And I hadn't seen him again until last year. So I saw him last year. And I gave him a pound. We talked. I don't know if he heard the joint. He may have. I'll ask him eventually. But I just had to get it off my chest. Like, at this point, I'm happy for him. Like, he's really a Willie dude. Like, I don't want to put his name out there, but
yeah.
If you think of the biggest cats in the game, he done managed them. You know what I mean? Like, and I kind of say his name in this song, but I'm going to leave it alone.
We let it go. I mean,
I know you know. I think you know.
I've been trying to piece it together, but I'm gonna keep quiet though.
Yeah. It's and that's fun. That's it's like real, but it's still cryptic, and it's like if you're in the loop and you in the game, you figure it out. He knows.
That track is fire, man. That shit. I love that shit. I mean, that shit. I annoy a lot of my fucking suburban ass neighbors with that shit. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, pleasure.
Yo, how is your teaching influenced your hip hop and vice versa? Your hip hop influenced your teaching?
Honestly, yo, the kids are so dope. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like, I want to do hip hop, and I guess I'll teach. But honestly, as far as like a plan B, it was almost plan A. Like, even when I was in Adelphi, it was one of the, it was my major. So I'm not saying that, it's like, oh God, I'm going to teach. And then honestly, like, I teach every place where I've taught, I've lived. So when I was in the Northeast where we grew up, I taught at Sousa. Everybody knows what Sousa is. That's where Rick went to junior high school. I moved to Red Hook. I taught in Red Hook. I would see the kids. So it's always been so community, you know what I mean? And I love that. Like, I love that.
What's the response like?
It's always cool. Like, I mean, honestly, there's not a hell of a lot of black teachers to start with. So just the fact of being a black man, I think that's a benefit to the kids where I've taught. And then I've always put the music into the teaching because it's hip hop. It's genius writing. We know there's songs that are straight up genius.
Of course.
And they can address some of these, these lessons better than a lot of the stuff I could find, written down. So why wouldn't I use that? There have been times where I've gotten myself into a little bit of an issue. One time there was a higher up in my classroom, and I was doing a lesson on personification, and I think there's no better example than I gave you power.
Of course. So
I'm rocking it, and the lesson was dope. It was also, so I paired that with this New Yorker article about personification, where it talked about a kid with you could look it up too. It's a dope article. I think if you put New Yorker condom, so it's a personification talking about this kid who has a condom, and like he gets it when he's 13, and it stays in his wallet forever, and then he's finally gonna get some ass, and then he pulls out the condom and the shit looks suspect, And he's like, I don't know if I should use this. And the girl's like, you know what? Don't even worry about it. So then he takes the condom and he puts it like in this like box of mementos. So he never busts open the condom. You know what I mean? And so I'm pairing that with, you know, I gave you power. And the kids are like, yo, this is bug. It's crazy how this could do that. And I was like, yeah, I know. Personification is dope as hell.
This was like 8th grade, right? 7th, 8th grade?
This was high school. This was high school.
Okay.
Because, you know, I gave you power. It's a little mature.
Yeah, of course.
You know? And then, you know, she went after and she was like, could I talk to you? And, I mean, she was above my principal. She was like, why'd you choose that? I said, which one? She was like,
all of it.
She was like, well, not the New Yorker one. That was great. I was like, so you didn't like the hip hop one? She was like, yeah, because it's so street. So come to find out, this is the crazy shit. She had lost a family member to gun violence. She's a woman of color. So I feel like she was like predisposed to have this axe to grind against hip hop, but I get it. We had a good talk. And then she was just like, you know, I see what you're trying to do, but, you know, we got to be careful. You know, we don't want to just give the kids what, you know, everybody expects them to have. I was like, look, they ain't playing I gave you power on the radio. Like, when I give them that, I'm trying to expose them to something that they might not have been exposed to.
Right.
And she was like, all right, I can respect that. So we had a good discussion about it. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I bust off when they unlock me. You know what I mean? She wasn't comfortable with that.
Right.
But the kids were engaged. And that really was, you know, that's our job. We got to engage them.
Yeah. No,
So you take a chance with it, but it's getting more accepted. That was maybe like 4 years ago, you know?
Do you approach music differently, considering that I guess it's not your primary source of...
That's real. Yeah, I do.
You can do whatever the fuck you want. I mean, it's like...
Nah, that's real. No, I mean, you know what? Because the teaching thing is like, that is me. Like, right. I don't want to get away from that, and I don't want to present in a way that I'm gonna have to, like, really start. All right, well, now I got, you know, now I got to cop, please. I don't want to do that. I want whoever I'm gonna be on either side. So the main thing, honestly, has been the N-word. I used to really enjoy a good N-word barrage. I used to really do that. Like, honestly, in whatchamacallit, in hindsight, there's only like 3 or 4 N-words. Like, really. And it, you know, most of them are in, you know, when I'm playing a different character.
Right.
But when it's just me rhyming, it's pretty much, all right, let me chill. Because at the end of the day, I just don't want to explain myself at this point. Even though I feel like it'll still be there if it needs to be. I'm just not going to go and just, it's not going to, like how I used to, which I used to enjoy quite a bit. But, you know what I mean? I'm a teacher.
Right.
I'm a model for them, and you can be selective.
No, real talk. You have to know how to, you got to move, might have to move a little bit differently.
Rakim, you know what I mean? It's like when we think about, you know, I haven't talked about him enough as a thing, you know what I mean? Very seldom would Rakim drop any curses. And who was harder than the R? Peace, Tone. I see my dude Tone from the D. That's what's up. So, yeah, I mean, we out here, you know what I mean? And it's like we men, and I think we could still be every bit as cutting edge and sharp with it. And it's, you know, it's low-hanging fruit, you know? I could be hard. There's so many other ill words and setups that I could get that tone across. And sometimes I'm going to just say my nigga, and it's going to feel great. And it's going to make perfect sense in the context. It's just not going, I'm just not throwing it around like I used to.
That makes sense. I understand. You know what I mean? It makes perfect sense. You'd be maybe foolish if you were doing otherwise. Yo, we got to get out of here, but before we do, I got a question for you. It's basketball. I might have to have you back on, man, because I want to dive into this farther. Top 5 New York City point guards.
Top 5 New York City point guards. Let me see. I'm gonna have to count. I'm gonna have to start up. I mean, I didn't see Tiny Archibald, but I heard he was a problem.
Let's go with.
How about you? That's all.
Yeah, let's go with our. You know, we probably close, really kind of close in the same age. Like, you know, who we might have seen.
I would say top 5 New York City point guards. I'm gonna just count up because that's easy. If I count down, I'm gonna mess it up. Kenny Anderson's number 1.
Okay, I'm there.
Kenny Anderson's number 1.
Woof, that was crazy.
Yeah, I would say number 2 would probably be I want to say Mark, but then I want to say Rod.
Right. Oh.
And Rod, it might be Rod because he's from the Northeast. He's from Co-op, so I'm gonna go with Rod.
Rod Strickland. All right.
But I will say this. I did say my favorite ball player of all time was Isaiah Thomas, and Mark Jackson did boom it on Isaiah Thomas. When I saw, I was there in the Garden. It was Mark's second year. He boomed it on Isaiah at the buzzer. So there's that. So he's number 3. Number 4. There's so many.
Ooh, there's so many.
I want to say Boo Harvey.
Okay.
Or David Edwards. Remember David Edwards who played for Georgetown? He was like Iverson before Iverson.
I know who you're talking about. Damn.
And you know what?
You digging in there now.
Nah, you know what? I can't even say Force Pro Washington. Force Pro Washington.
Oh.
And then 5, I'll go with Dave Edwards. Because I heard stories about him in Queens.
Wow.
Like
so there's a few names that I
who would you add? Who would you move? Who's in yours?
I got Kenny in there. I gotta put Skip in there. I gotta put Skip in there.
He was a problem.
It almost feels cliche. I gotta put Starberry in there.
I thought of Starberry. Honestly, I thought of Starberry. I just think, you know why? You know what the problem I have with Starberry is that he could have been all world. And I know if you compare him just to the other dudes, he's gonna wash a couple.
Yeah.
But when I think of just like, damn, I just saw so much for him, it taints it for me. But you're right, he was amazing.
I mean, yes, and that is tough because when you saw the trajectory of where he was going to then where he was like, all right, China, all right, you got $30 shoes. I mean, like it was like, but I mean, turn it around or whatever. So then I got more. I got Rod.
You got Rod?
Yeah, and I got Mark.
Okay.
So my biggest thing is Skip. But
Skip's amazing though. Real talk. Like to me, he's kind of like that Dave Edwards dude. Because he just cats don't remember. Like Dave Edwards was mean. That 1 year at Georgetown, he was a problem. I mean, the handle and when they did above the rim, I think he was trying to be Dave Edwards. Like he was like he's going to Georgetown. Like he was kind of like his game. He kind of looked like he was trying to like imitate Dave Edwards.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's crazy. So
yeah, we talking some New York shit. I'm loving this.
No, like so. Here's the thing: your sister said this question. She thought she liked the question because you use sports a lot, and I was looking at like 4 different interviews, and you brought it back to basketball. And I'm like a basketball head, so I was like, oh, we gonna talk some hoops. You know what I'm saying?
Boo Harvey was mean too, though. Boo Harvey was a problem.
Crazy. So yeah, we're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to do it some more. I got to get on out of here, and thank you very much. We're going to have to do it round 2. I got stuff I didn't get to cover, but fucking got a schedule to maintain. Appreciate you, man. Really do.
I ain't get to say peace to everybody. I saw a lot of stuff, but I was really engrossed in our conversation. Shout out to everybody who came through. Carrying the culture, man. Y'all living up to y'all name. Man.
You carrying the culture. You teaching like, I gave you power up in school. You know what I mean? Like, so salute, mutual respect, man. Like you infiltrating the system, and that's what it's really all about.
The kids dig it. The kids dig it. It's interesting because then they want to share their shit too. And there's some shit of recent, of the shit that they like. They're like, oh, and it makes them actually look at the music they like differently, which is, I feel good about that. Word.
Now we'll definitely have to do it again. Everybody on the show, catch up with us on Wednesday. We got Constant Elevation with Brother Jay. That's our monthly show with Brother Jay from X Clan. We're gonna be building on our top new MCs of the past 5 or 6 years. So Brother Jay from X Clan, it's always a good build.
What's up? Word.
The Constant Elevation Wednesday. Thanks everybody for joining in. We're gonna have to do it again, man. I'm gonna hit you up again because I got more stuff to nag you about. So
I'm here, man.
All right. So
when I drop the next joint, we come through.
Word. Definitely. Appreciate you. All right. Everybody be good.
Peace, y'all.
Peace.